I'd like to welcome everybody to this session. I'm Scott Thomas. I'm the Director for Signature Brands Retail. With me today is Ryan Them. Ryan is the Manager of Investigations and also the Video Czar at Meijer store. Ryan, we're used to doing these retail summits in person and having a chance to be with all of our friends and customers. So it's a little different having to do this virtually. Hopefully we don't have any technical problems and everything goes smoothly. I'd like to remind everybody, by the way, just a housekeeping note, on the right in your console is a chat box where you can ask Ryan and I questions, and we'll cover that at the end of the session. So with that in mind, we're going to talk about occupancy management, Ryan. So I'd like to go ahead and begin, tell our audience a little bit about yourself, Meijer, and what you guys are doing for occupancy management.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. This is definitely a little bit different. Doing this virtual, this will be my third Retail Leadership Summit, User Summit. These are great opportunity for everyone to share information and see what new is happening with video and the Genetec solutions out there. So today I'm going to be going through COVID-19 occupancy solution that Meijer evaluated and is rolling out across the chain. First, I'll give you a little bit about me and the Meijer business. Meijer is a Midwest big box retailer, family-owned grocery and general merchandise with fuel and pharmacy offerings. We have 250 retail locations in 6 states, 7 food manufacturing facilities, 5 distribution facilities, and we have specialty pharmacy operations inside our main footprint as well as on the East and West Coast and global sourcing in Hong Kong and Bangladesh. I'm Ryan Them, the investigations manager and video czar, as Scott mentioned. I've been with Meijer in asset protection for 10 years. I did some time at Target out west prior to that and have always been an IT and camera technology enthusiast to find ways to solve problems for asset protection. So what was the challenge? We were looking to find a technology solution to solve our manual occupancy counting process that used lots of labor. A typical Meijer location has 1 to 3 main entrances between our fresh area, general merchandise area, and our garden center entrances. And when all those business areas were open or are open, staffing needed to count and greet at that many locations was a problem. So we had large labor spend, and then state by state fluctuations on occupancy standards over time were pressures on to find a easy way for team members to get back and focus on the things we need to do to run the business. So eliminate that counting task was one of the goals, and then focus our greeters back on front end control, sanitation, and then moving the additional labor back into store to stock or check customers out. So how did we evaluate solutions for that? We looked at solution costs, infrastructure, did we have enough infrastructure available? What infrastructure is required? Is it a simple solution for our end users to solve those problems? Is the accuracy kind of meet our needs? Notification and reporting, will we have something that we can have a dashboard or provide information to regulators if they want to come and check up on us? So Meijer Path, we really had to evaluate what our footprint looked like, what a typical building looked like, and then would the different solutions out there, whether it's there's some optical people counting solutions, there was some laser people counting solutions, and then camera counting solutions were kind of the primary ones we looked at. We know there was also a few things evaluated along location services. Genetec also has another service that we've looked at. It didn't get evaluated. We didn't feel we were ready for it, called Impiction, that gives location services and can kind of give you a number of folks with devices in the store, but we ended up kind of evaluating those other solutions, and Genetec kind of came out as the best value proposition with the infrastructure that we had in place. It didn't have some of the other problems of having to purchase additional like tablets or iPads to monitor, a standalone system, or accuracy was above where some of the consumer level products were. Things that we've identified and are still identifying, we're about 50 stores into our rollout. We've really taken our time to get the accuracy level right and the solution right for the end users. Plus, we have kind of current state of our command center does a lot of the notification and communication around the events and the alarms. We're working on spooling up the stores to use a mobile device, but integrator expertise has been important on that. Establishing, having an established infrastructure for the platform to run on, since we're already chain wide with the Genetec solution as our camera management system, with IP cameras. And then accuracy validation was important, and there's a lot of work there, tedious work, but it really helps make sure that it's configured, set up right, and you can maintain a decent level of accuracy. And then flexibility and ease to update the occupancy numbers if those states are changing their regulations or kind of the level of lockdown, if you will. Those are all things that are important to success. How does it work? So using the Kiwi Analytics plugin, the camera runs that on the Genetec server and uses a top-down view to count people crossing the line, and the line's configurable. So as you can see in the shot here, we have a greeter stand right in the middle between the in and out points, in between the EAS towers. So if you've got a guard standing there moving back and forth, the ability to move and configure the lines to allow some normal business to occur without impacting the accuracy of the numbers was important. And so we learned a lot of stuff as we rolled these out on how to mount the camera, where to mount it, and what best accuracy results we were getting with that. And then also some retraining for our AP teams and our greeters on how to move around those areas, how to best take care of EAS alarms and that type of thing. We're all pretty important to overall accuracy too. And then the analytic restarts restart coincides with our close of business, so it'll reset back to zero, which lets us reset if there's any diversion from an accurate number throughout the day. Plus, that can be done manually. If we feel that it's off and we are getting event to action alarms, the store can do a snap count and we can compare and then run throughput numbers as well, which is something we've been doing to see if we had 350 people come in the last hour and our widgets telling us we have 550, and we have the store to account and they say that we have 340, we can reset that number back down to a number that's more accurate. So the flexibility of the tools, nice, and that's all tracked within, and we can audit that based on those numbers and reporting. That's part of the tool as well. Downstream, we know that both the store level AP will want and have some value out of seeing some of these widgets. So updating so they can see the widgets here. You'll see that occupancy is a threshold percentage. So in the example there, we set an example threshold of 220 would be the occupancy max. And then if there's 211 people in there, that would be at 96% of that 220. And we actually can set a near threshold and an over threshold. Near kind of puts us in the yellow category that you see there. If it hits the 220, it'll turn red. And then we also have the event to action alarms triggering at those points that go to our command center currently, that will also be going to mobile devices here shortly. So we got a couple of snapshots from mobile devices, what that looks like. Really, we know when we get 250 stores up and running with this, we want the store leadership to be able to manage this and respond to those event to actions, those alarms. So we've just completed our first test in one of our stores with an Android device running the app, where they get the notification you can see on the screen there that tells them what their alarm they're receiving is. They can acknowledge that notification, log into the app, and then they can either investigate the alarm as a response or acknowledge it. And then our ops center will then, when we hit those actual at occupancy thresholds, they'll still follow up and make sure that the appropriate action was taken. And each at occupancy alarm triggers an incident in Genetec on our federation level that's part of our compliance, so that we know what actions were taken if we had to change the number due to an accuracy issue, or if we responded and started line queuing. Those are all captured there for compliance. So some key takeaways on our current rollout. We're moving into a pretty heavy phase of installs, but custom profiles are important to us right now. We've run into some different scenarios with lightings in different environments, and obstacles in different environments where the need to have some additional configuration options in there. So that's been huge. Genetec engineers are working with our integrator to set those up to make that accuracy get to our threshold of 90%. And then we're looking forward to leverage more use cases out of the tool, to look at volume per minute, volume per hour type of notifications or event to actions with, how many people are coming in and what implications can that mean from a service standpoint, getting the right number of folks up front if we have a large influx, or even when we talk about other opportunities like taking our point of sale integration and looking at how many people came in and what our conversion rate was for customers coming in the store versus transaction count. So those are a few of the things that are on the roadmap that we're working with Genetec on. Questions?
Yeah. Well, first off, Ryan, that great presentation, and we absolutely have got questions that are coming in. But a couple things I wanted to ask you about. So, in terms of setting up the cameras, so were these existing cameras that you had, or were these new cameras that you relocated, or existing cameras you relocated, or were they completely new cable poles and just for this application?
So we elected to install new cameras. That was part of our kind of ROI evaluation. Let's install some new cameras that are for the specific use case of this application. So we had cameras in that area, some of which could definitely do the work, but we wanted to have the right camera, right model that could run the analytic the best with Genetec. And then really the mounting and positioning of that camera is pretty critical to it being accurate. So we elected to figure out and evaluate, do some site assessments with the integrator, figure out how many we needed per entrance. Some entrances we only need one, some we might need two, and then calculate out how many cameras we needed. Got it.
Did you guys do all the configuration of the analytics in terms of setting up the bounding boxes, or did your integrator do that for you?
Integrators doing that for us, where my team kind of kicks in with our ops center, and they love me for this, but I've really put them to work on the validation step. And the integrators does a little bit of that as we go back and forth and say, hey, this one's still a little bit below threshold. Can you make, then the integrator will make adjustments for us, or they'll work with the Genetec engineers, and we'll get custom profiles applied if we just have issue with a specific environment that's given us trouble. But we've played around with, in a couple situations, we've had to add an extra camera where the one didn't quite do it. But for the most part, we've the integrators got it pretty close down to a science on, how accurate are we going to be able to get with this distance from the floor or from the customer. If there's any deviation from the angle, they've done a pretty good job and got it down to a pretty good science. We're in the process now of training additional integrator resources to get out there and mass produce our efforts that we've gotten to now with the 50 stores completed. We're going to try to complete another 200 in the next 60 days.
Wow, that's an ambitious rollout for sure. So the questions now are coming in. So first one is, okay, it looks like, okay, you mentioned that you evaluated other options, and I'm just going off of what I remembered, which is you mentioned optical and laser in addition to the camera. So how did you, the question basically is, how did you end up determining cameras were the best option to count the people?
Simplicity for the end user. We didn't want to have one of the main goals was removing labor and having something that we could count on if we were audited, and something that had even corporate visibility. Some of the solutions, had a dashboard, and you had to get a, maybe like an iPad, and it would run on its own network with transmitters. So it eliminated the need to do a heavy IT lift. For us, the Genetec platform, the infrastructure is already there. Plugging in a camera is pretty easy on our network today. So we kind of weighed the difference between, plugging something new in versus not using up network resources. But when we got down to it, the Genetec solution gave us way more opportunity for flexibility and to add on additional features in the long run. The other features would pretty much just give us a people counting solution that's only a people counting solution that's got a dashboard for people counting solution. We wanted to be able to get additional horsepower after making an investment like that to first save the labor, and then second, develop additional ROI avenues to get down, whether it's improving service or maybe learning about conversion rates or marketing strategies.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's kind of, we had another question that was coming in about, how you're planning to use this in terms of post-COVID. Hopefully when things are back to normal, are you still going to be looking at occupancy? I think you mentioned something about customer service earlier and conversion rates. Maybe you can expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely see, that's one of the nice things about the development and different apps and plugins with Genetec. Basically, if you can imagine it, you can probably figure it out. But we would like to see the volume. There's different volume events as far as customers per minute. We're scoping out a use case to set and learn what our average customer per minute kind of traffic is in our stores at different times a day, and that'll differ in different locations, and then be able to set high occupancy volume event to actions where a store could be notified if, hey, my average traffic is 15 customers per minute, I just hit 50. That means, hey, it's either a lunchtime rush or drive time rush. Let's get some extra cashiers up to open our staffed lanes and make sure that we've got enough self-checkout attendance up there, and we should be able to correlate that with better customer service satisfaction scores. So that's something we're looking into now. Once we get the core functions up, that'll be probably project 2, and then with our POS integration with Genetec, definitely see value in figuring out conversion rates. Like, hey, how did we had 1,000 people come in on our general merchandise side? What was their conversion rate to buying general merchandise products? Or grocery side, 1,000 grocery customers. What was the conversion rate for buying grocery products? Or just conversion rate in general of buying anything from customers coming in any entrance of the building? What did that look like? So that's another kind of down the road use case that we're going to be looking into.
Yeah, the customer service aspect is huge, right? I mean, because obviously if you've got a lot of self-checkouts, people either, have to give ID if they're going to buy liquor, or, maybe they just, misscan something. And I think there's a loss prevention aspect to that as well, right? Given the shrink that a lot of chains see at self-checkout now. But I think those are both just great applications. And that kind of leads into another one of the questions that came in from the audience. So how did you calculate your ROI in terms of making this particular transition over to occupancy management? Were there some figures you used?
Yeah, absolutely. It was relatively easily. When we were in the March, April timeframe, everyone started really looking at this very closely. Our construction group was leveraged, our retail operators, and then our AP group. And one of the things we were realizing is we literally were staffing specific people only to manage counting. Sometimes at a lower volume store, a greeter was being used for that. Sometimes at our higher volume store, many times at our higher volume stores, we were literally putting an additional person on top of our greeters up there to staff each entrance. So that could be once our garden centers opened up full, you could have one additional person in general merchandise, one at the grocery entrance, and one at a garden center. So many stores we had 3 people between 13 and 15 hours a day, which was our open time frame during that part of the kind of lockdown, if you will. It was pretty easy to calculate labor hours. What we were spending per week chain wide was amounted about $1 million in labor specifically for counting. And then look at what our cost to roll this out to the per store level and at the chain level. It easily is paying itself back in 6 to 8 months. Even if we take out the incentive, we're paying folks $2 incentive at the time for folks, essential grocery workers, to be in the store. That was part of the calculation. But even if we take that out, 6 to 8 months, this thing's paying itself back.
Yeah, that's great. 6-month ROI on that's great. Very good. And that, again, with what you plan to do with the post-COVID, so there's going to be value in that investment. Another one of the questions that came in: how do you notify associates? I think you mentioned something about you're calling them now from the ops center, correct? But you're going to move into a technology-based solution with that eventually, with mobile app. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, today, current state, we have federated alarms going to our command center. If there's a valuation that takes place, hey, the alarm comes in, are they at the threshold? We'll evaluate a little bit. Then yeah, they're calling the store. We know that when we get past the 50 stores we're in now, closer to 200 or to 250, managing the number of alarms that you could potentially get, especially if states lock down more. We know that our command center couldn't handle the volume. So we did just complete our first successful test of both Apple and Android devices in store on our network with the newest Genetec app that works with 5.8, and that both gets once you've authenticated with it, it's kind of nice. Leadership will have credentials to log into it, and they can view alarms. And once they've authenticated, that device will also get notifications. So then they can be notified that there's an event. They can log into the app. They can investigate the status, and then they can acknowledge the status. So they have 2 action items they can complete, and our ops center will still kind of review when we've hit thresholds and kind of still be the stopgap to make sure that the store responded appropriately. In case we get audited, we'll have good actions. We're also using Genetec incidents. Once we've hit an occupancy, those alarms require an actual Genetec incident to be created, and we'll document who we talked to, if they started line queuing, or if they did a snap count of the folks that we compare with the throughput count, where we'll make an adjustment. So if we make an adjustment on the count due to accuracy being off over time, even that 10%, even if we're at 90% accuracy over time, when you have we range from probably 2,000 to 4,000 customers flowing through a Meijer building in a day. So when you talk about a 10% deviation on accuracy, that can add up to a few hundred. So being able to change that number is important too. And the store doesn't still have to staff the door all day long. They can just take 10 minutes and take a couple liters and go do a snap count in the store, and we can update that if it needs to be. So it'll allow us to really manage at the store level a lot more and stay compliant within our state regulations and stay out of trouble if someone audits us, which hasn't happened to date.
Gotcha. Well, and you mentioned accuracy, and so that was another question that came in: is how do you validate your accuracy? So I'm assuming that you just take a slice of video and just count how many folks are coming through and compare that to the analytic.
We actually do it live, and so my coordinators in our ops center love me because I signed them up for this gig, as I thought it was important for the workflow integrator. Gets everything installed, validates, does the initial configure, and then we do an accuracy validation to kind of sign off that, hey, this meets our expectations. And so, yeah, we're watching live video with the widget. We'll use the dashboard, all newer features in 5.8 that we like. And so we'll look at the throughput number, we'll look at the live number coming in, and then we'll do an actual count and compare all those. And the deviation gives us our accuracy percentage between the physical count and the widget count. And that can trigger either, if it's below 90%, we'll have the integrator make additional adjustments, or work with the engineers at Genetec that work on the plugin to do a custom profile for us. Or sometimes just minor configurations with the camera, lighting, different things will get us up above that 90%, and then we sign off on it and move into production with the store, eliminating that additional labor and relying on the technology.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you know what? Our half hour has just flown by. We're coming right up against the end of this particular session. So, Ryan, any closing thoughts you wanted to share with the audience before we go?
No, just this has been a good opportunity. I look forward to seeing some of the other presentations from the other Genetec users. It's always a good opportunity to see how someone else is applying and meeting business needs using technology. So I look forward, appreciate the opportunity to present, and look forward to seeing what the other folks have to share.
Well, hopefully we can do this live in 2021, getting back to our normal retail leadership summit. So for our audience, guys, we're getting ready to go into lunch break. So when you get back from that, our next session will be with Starbucks. We'll be talking about their conversion over from appliance to virtualization. So that'll be a great session. Hope to see all of you there. So on behalf of Genetec and Ryan and myself, again, we want to thank you guys for attending and look forward to seeing you here in a half hour.
Thanks, Scott.